Welcome to RV Life on a shoestring budget.
Woohoo! Let's talk about our first episode today, which is...
The biggest. It's the biggest one.
It's so important.
Yes.
It's going to be called... Take it away, Kit.
It's going to be called Extreme Downsizing.
Yeah, we are so excited for this series, you guys. We know that this is going to relate to a lot of you because you've been talking to us and you've been sharing your stories and your tales about postponing full-time RV life or getting started and then stopping. What other stories have we heard recently?
Oh, well, let's be specific.
Okay.
We've heard people that said, hey, we wanted to do this in 2018 and they didn't. They did something else and now they're like, okay, we're back on track with that plan. We've got to do this. So the plan... if you're saying I gotta live full-time in an RV and you're like, oh, you know what, let's go do something else, that plan just might come right back to you and say, yeah, I've got to get this done.
It might. I think sometimes when we have a big dream and a big goal for our life, it can be so scary that we pull back sometimes and we say, you know what, I'm not quite ready to take that leap of faith. Leap of faith, that was the other title we were going to give it. Because it's a big decision.
Yes.
But I know a lot of you, Kent and I both know a lot of you guys are right on the edge. They're ready to make that leap, ready to take that big step. But you just need maybe a little encouragement.
Well, let's encourage you how to sell the farm, buy in lock, stock, and barrel into being full-time RV living and still do it on a shoestring budget and still allow it within your means.
Exactly.
So let's talk about that.
All right.
So when you go full-time RVing, like a lot of people that we've talked to, the best way to not blow the budget is to make sure you don't have payments. Mm-hmm. And I mean payments on storage lockers, payments on property that you're not even at anymore,
extra
payments
insurance for
other cars,
for vehicles, or debt payments, or any of those. Anytime you can get rid of a monthly payment, you're taking that step forward into living full-time on the road on that tight budget.
Yes. So
what we recommend then to do that is sell everything. I mean, that seems the most obvious, right?
Get rid of what's holding you down.
Exactly.
Holding you back.
So there are different ways to do full-time RV life, as you know. We are not talking about all the other ways, renting out your house or having all your stuff in a big storage locker or trying it out for 6 months. Those are not what we're talking about. This series is about seriously doing this on the lowest amount of money possible. And getting her done. So that's part of it. So if you own a house, sell it. If you own an extra vehicle that you're not going to need on the road, sell that or those vehicles. Now, if you don't need to do all that and you're just curious of how people that don't have a great amount of bank behind them, then pay attention, and you don't have to sell everything because, as you know, you've already got that taken care of. But we're talking to the people that say, could we also? Okay, so in order to begin this entire topic, this conversation, you need to know why you want to go full-time on the road. Yeah. In your RV, in your van, in your camper, whatever it is. Yep. Why? Yeah, and we knew we just had to. Yeah. So we found all of the possibilities and reasons to make it happen. Without that commitment, you're not going to be able to go through the hard times of letting go of your stuff, extreme downsizing. You won't be able to do it because you won't have a big enough motivation. Ken and I did a video a while ago about motivation and inspiration. Yeah. So we'll link that up here. You can check that out later. But that is really crucial. You have to know your why. So take a minute, even now, pause the video, grab your notebook, and start writing down all those reasons why you want to go full-time on the road. It might be to spend more time together with your spouse. It might be so you can travel to visit family members or to visit your friends. It might be to get those epic Instagram moments and those big experiences that you're looking for. To wake up someplace on the edge of an amazing Grand Canyon-like view and go, I couldn't do this on a Tuesday. Exactly. To get away from crowds, that could be a big one. Get out of the city, get out of debt. I mean, there are lots and lots of reasons, and you don't need just one. Sometimes you have multiple reasons why you want to make this transition. But I feel like this transition is such a big leap that it kind of prepares you for RV life, because RV life is not easy. No, it isn't. There are lots of days when you're just exhausted, or you get lost, or something happens to your front tire when you're driving down the road, and those are all big challenges. So I think it's important to get yourself in that headspace of saying, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this happen.
Yeah, so that when your RV breaks down, you don't break down.
Yeah, good point.
There you go.
That's true, yeah. Or your marriage doesn't break down.
Yeah, exactly. Or anything else. And so let's break it down for you. Okay.
We will. Okay, so
if you know why you want to do this and what you want to accomplish, it can even be just to save money.
Huge.
Number 2, you need to get rid of downsize and get down to the least amount of cost in your life.
Exactly. So we call this getting rid of your overhead. So
yes.
Whatever is costing you money in your day-to-day life,
yep.
get rid of it. So if that's a rent payment or a mortgage payment, if it's a car payment, if it's insurance on an extra vehicle, maybe
yep.
a commuter vehicle that you're not going to need anymore when you're on the road. What else? Like anything that debt payments.
And some
get
people
rid of those if you can.
And some people think, you know what? I'm going to downsize until everything is in a storage locker. And I'm like, yeah,
that's still overhead.
That's overhead.
Yeah.
That's of stuff that you're not taking with you, which means you might not actually need it or want it, or you go back 4 years later and I was like, I've never opened that box. I wonder what's even in it. You don't want to be paying for something for 4 years that is like that. So dig deep.
Yes.
Get that storage stuff gone out of your life.
Exactly.
Put a box in someone else's garage and say, hey, could you hold on to this?
That has your most precious memories. I mean, we're not saying get rid of all of your memories and all of your really precious things. So those things keep. Your baby book, your wedding album, maybe a diploma or something. Keep those things in a box, like Kent said, at a friend's house or at your kid's house. But don't be paying for a storage locker. Don't be doing anything extra. Now, I did mention debt a minute ago. I don't ever take financial advice from Kent and I. That's our caveat right there.
No.
Just don't
We're
take
on a
financial
shoestring
advice.
budget. Yeah.
Yeah, for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But I also don't want to see people delaying their full-time RV life because of you have to get debt-free first. If you can get debt-free easily by selling your house, go for it and do that. But there are ways to still deal with your debt while you're on the road. And we'll talk about that later in a future video about making money on the road and covering your bills. And that can be, a debt payment can be included in that.
Yep.
So you're the only one who can make that decision. But I just want to let you know that don't let that hold you back.
Yeah.
But definitely try and get those payments as low as you can before you hit the road.
Incorporate it into your plan.
Yeah.
Excellent. And number 3.
Are we done with no overhead?
Oh my gosh. I don't think we'll ever be done with no overhead.
And I mean, that's why we're talking about extreme downsizing, right?
Yes.
Like, we're talking about getting rid of everything. Kent and I sold our house. We sold motorcycles. We sold vehicles. We sold our business. We
sold the lawnmower.
Everything. The big wall unit, the china that we had. I mean, when people talk about downsizing, they're usually saying, get rid of the extra clothes you don't need, or get rid of the extra dishes you're not going to take with you.
Yeah.
We're talking about extreme, like get rid of everything.
Like having the garage sale, having all of your things sold on Kijiji.
Yeah.
Why?
Or give it away.
And the question is why? The reason is why is so that when you're driving down the road in your RV life, you're not thinking back to the things that are still locked up somewhere that you're having to keep warm, dry, insured. Those things that you don't actually have to have with you. From our experience, anyways, we don't have to have them with us.
So here's the thing, Kent. I think what you're trying to say is you can't have 2 lives.
Yeah.
If you want to do this on a shoestring budget, you really can put all of your finances. I mean, we don't have a lot of finances. What we have is a small amount. So that small amount has to go into one spot. You can't say, well, I'm living on the road and I'm living on this acreage, or I'm living in town, or I also have an apartment here, or whatever. If you could afford that, that's great, but that's not who we're talking to today. We're talking about those of you who are like, I don't have money to do both. Yeah. People have said to us, you guys must have $1 million sitting in the bank somewhere, or you must have a huge investment that's paying you out every month. We don't actually.
I have one fridge.
Yeah.
I have I have one microwave. I have one oven.
So the reason for that extreme downsizing is so that everything you own is in your rig.
Yeah.
Everything Kent and I own is right here in our motorhome. That's it, 28-foot hallway.
So we get to
everything we own.
We get to insure this in our car.
Yep.
We get to
oh, that's true. We do have a few things
maintain
in the car.
this in our car. We get to live with this in our car.
Yep. But when we started, we didn't even have a car.
No, that's true.
So we'll talk I think next week we'll do a video, or maybe the week after.
Yeah,
about
coming soon.
Choosing your RV and finding one that works for this lifestyle on their shoestring budget.
Oh my gosh.
And we will talk about having an extra car, and when you start, you don't need that.
Now, can somebody who doesn't own a house live full-time in an RV?
Absolutely.
Yes.
If you're renting, we would encourage you, and this is step number 3 that we want to talk about.
There you go.
Get into a funnel.
Yes. A funnel is simply this, going from your life that you have now that holds all of you and all of your stuff and all of your things, and start to bring that down to something where you have much less stuff, much less overhead, and it might be a little uncomfortable.
Probably.
You might be sharing a house with somebody.
Yep.
You might be living in a basement suite. You might be sharing and saving money by living a little bit uncomfortable, knowing you're only a few months away from living your life.
And that's what gets you through it. If you can keep your eye on the prize and you're just like, that's what I want and I'm going for that, you can deal with some uncomfortableness to get there.
Yes.
So you can actually embrace that even.
And when the day that you start living full-time in an RV, you don't have to have all your list of essentials, but you can then at least have your list of essentials and have what you need and acquire a few more things. And I mean certain things like, I don't know, tools or whatever for the RV life, so that you can have the things that you need. You'll have the essentials.
So what that does, when we talk about a funnel, what Kent and I did is we actually sold our house and then we rented a small 2-bedroom duplex, or like an apartment. So that was a huge downsize, but it wasn't all the way downsized to the RV. We didn't have an RV at that time. We didn't even have money for an RV at that time. But what we did is we lowered our monthly payments. We lowered our overhead by getting rid of all that stuff and going into that smaller apartment. So now we're talking to people who, like, we sold our house, but what if you don't own a house? Like you just asked that. That was a really good question. And what some options that we've thought of, and I'm sure you guys can think of some other ones too. And if you do, leave those in the comments below. How can we do this? How can we get started? How can we make this transition from nothing to our RV life, from having no money, having nothing extra? There isn't money sitting around at the end of the month. How am I going to get from there into an RV? One way you can do that is if you're paying rent already on a house, you can rent a smaller house. You can bring in a boarder. If you have a second bedroom, you can, maybe you're right now using that bedroom as an office, or maybe you're using that bedroom, you know, as a cat room or whatever. You can clean that up and you can put an ad on Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace looking for a roommate. So you can bring somebody in, they'll cover half your rent.
If you're a really nice person, you might be able to live with family.
That's true.
For that period of time and put that money in the bank.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that we have done in the past is we have hosted international students. So contact your local university or college, ask them about their homestay program, and see if they can bring a student into your place, and that'll help bring in a little bit of extra money. You can share your space while you're downsizing. Are there any other ideas of how we can get from into a funnel? If you're already living small, how do you funnel down from that?
There's another way, and that is if you're living in an expensive location, you could say, okay, that's it. I'm moving to a cheaper location so that I can actually put more money in the bank.
Absolutely. If you're living in a city, you can say, what is a suburb outside the city that maybe I can live there and you know, rent there, so it's a lot cheaper. We will be talking about income sources as well, but I'm saying, like, to try and keep your job that you have, so you've got your amount of money. Let's say you're paying $1,000 a month rent. If you can get that down to $500 a month, that $500 that you've saved now, you can put that towards saving up for the RV that we're going to talk about next week that you're going to get.
There you go. And if the RV is not the issue, and you can move into your RV today and still keep working, we've seen a lot of people do that too.
Yes, we have.
And they're looking forward to living full time on the road and in other places, but they're still living their normal life in their RV while they make everything else accumulate.
So get creative, think about different ways that you can make this transition happen. Again, I think the most important thing is to know why you're doing it, because that's going to help motivate you and push you past and over some of those big hurdles. When we talk about extreme downsizing, I didn't say this earlier, but it's emotional.
It is.
So that's something that you need to be prepared to deal with, and just to say, you know what, this stuff that I have, maybe you really like it. I know one of the downsizing books, I can't remember this lady's name, it's like on the tip of my tongue, but she talks about things that spark joy. And she says, if it sparks joy in your life, keep it. And if it doesn't spark joy, then you can get rid of it. I got rid of a lot of things that sparked joy.
Yep.
And the reason
they weren't RV friendly.
They weren't RV friendly, and they didn't push me. Keeping that thing did not push me towards achieving my goal of living in a motorhome. Yep. So you have to think past that, past your typical downsizing mentality,
yep.
and say, okay, now, like that's why it's extreme.
It has to be high gear.
This
is the thing. It can't be, we're gonna try.
Right.
It's like there can't be try. There has to be, let's just decide and say we have to.
Yeah.
We've talked to people that have gone through, done it, and have for over a year, 2, 3, live full time with their RV being
20 years?
Yes.
I know, it's crazy.
Yes. And guess what? They wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. So if you are wondering if it's worth it to make all those sacrifices, to get rid of all those things that spark joy in your life, to say no to all the extra expenses, like, no, I'm not going out to Starbucks for coffee because I need to save that $5 for something else. If you are wondering if it's worth it, we're here to tell you. We want to help you to be able to break free from the grind, from the rat race, from the oppression of having all this stuff that is demanding your attention, and to help you get out on the road and live your life.
Wherever we go, there's room for you too.
Yeah.
And that's why we're letting you know.
Everywhere.
There's room.
It's awesome.
So come join us.
All right, you guys, you take care. Thanks for watching. My name is Lisa.
My name is Kent. We're living light RV.
We're out there. We're grabbing life by the tail. We want you guys to come and join us.
Yeah.
So have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next Friday.